Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing good today. Wait on a few people to come in here, hopefully, so we could get the show on the road. I wanted to talk about pedophilia and its database in the Jehovah Witness Organization. I recently had an argument in person with two Jehovah Witnesses on my doorstep. They claimed if anyone claimed to have been victimized by anyone in the Jehovah Witness Organization, that they were lying. It angered me. Hey there! How are you doing? You mean, Darlene. I'm going to add you as a moderator if that's okay, Warrior Nun. Hope I give you the wrench. It angered me when these Jehovah Witnesses that came to my house and told me that if anyone tells me that anyone in the organization has ever sexually abused any of them, that they were lying, that I need to believe what these two adults had said and not believe them. And I said, well, there are plenty of cases online about the Jehovah Witnesses and the sexual abuse. And they actually called me a liar. And I said, that's kind of strange. Because every religion, every human, you cannot go and say that's a lie without you knowing firsthand what the person has done. You want to just go ahead and smack the hand off the person? Hey, Lord help us, that's right. Thank you for doing that for me as well, Warrior. You know I love you bunches. And they want me to discredit anyone that tells me in good faith and to believe them who I know nothing about. Yet I was stigmatized from a church as well. I was told and banned from some of the churches because I left my abusive ex husband, because I spoke out about abuse. So I know firsthand of this going on. Are you still there? Or you're none? Maybe she'll be back in a minute. Oh, there you are. It just says one watching now. That's why I was wondering about that. I just got through eating some spicy, put too much spice in my potatoes and my pork chops. So I'm kind of like, my mouth is burning right now. And you would not, excuse me, and you would not believe, I told him, I said, well, I know about also that the Jehovah Witness Organization has a database on the pedophilia. Oh, that's such a lie. It's a lie. Whoever told you that is big fat liars. Excuse me, I could find the facts online. That's why I'm awesome and spicy. You're so sweet and silly. And I told him, I said, there are a lot of cases where this kind of thing happens. I said, bear in mind, I'm not just saying it happens with the Jehovah Witness. I said it happens also with all religions, outside of religions, families, uh, the government. It happens so many places. And I said, how dare you say that it does not happen whatsoever in that? I said, you want to keep quoting the Bible for me? I'll quote the Bible and say how it says not to have no faith in no man. I said, but it's kind of funny because you're having faith in this organization, and yet there's so many pedophilias out there. And I asked him, I said, what happens? They told me that they have ran into a couple pedophiles where they what is it, the words that they use, how they get them out of the church. They don't let them worship there or nothing unless they prove that they changed. And I said, how could they really prove that they changed? Oh, we have a couple guys go there and who commune with a guy, and we could tell by their actions that they changed. I said, no, you cannot. A pedophile can lie to your face. That is a lie. He says, don't believe your friend. Don't believe anybody. I said, well, she was kicked out of the church for telling. Oh, that's a bald-faced lie. We wouldn't do that. We'll get rid of the pedophile. I said, get rid of the pedophile? I said, how do you get rid of the pedophile? Well, sometimes we'll arrest them and sometimes we'll excommunicate them type of thing, it's a different word that they use, But we will not go and let any of the church members go and talk to them. I said, that's kind of funny. I said, because I basically was ostracized from the church I went to. And I said, that would be the first person I would go to see. I would go to that person and ask them what's going on. Find out once and for all what's really going on and not believe in y'all. They said, well, you're not believing Christ. I said, how dare you say that you're Christ? How dare you even put yourself in that predicament saying you're not going to believe Christ? Well, Christ ain't the one that said it. Y'all are the ones that said it. Then I asked, I said, when do one of the people out of the church, I said, do you all notify everyone in the church that this is a pedophile to keep your children away? No, but eventually they might find out, they told me. They might find out. Excuse me? You're still covering up for them. They said they still might find out, word of mouth talk. Well, according to them, they're not even supposed to be gossiping. So word of mouth talking, that's against what they believe also. So really, no, it's not going to go any further. They're not going to go right there, and they even have it. It's against God to use that against the mouth, and talk about these predators that way. But what about the children? Well, it's interesting because tonight I went ahead and I done a lot of research. And right away, I'm going to claim the fair use doctrine. Under the fair use doctrine of the U.S. copyright statute, it is permissible to use limited portions of work, including quotes, for purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research purposes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting the word out. I know that when it was brought to my attention, I had to mull over it a few days to find out what exactly I needed to get done. I didn't need to just sit there. And they still think that they're going to come back and have Bible study with me. Exactly. Exactly, Warrior Nun. You got that right. So they said that they'll end up calling me and or coming by when they come to see this other neighbor. And like I'm going to tell them I don't want no part of them since they are supporting pedophilia, and I know that for a fact, and shut the door back in their faces. They need to quit denying it. They need to quit calling any of my friends who have confessed that this has happened to them, who's brave enough. I will say they are brave enough to go against this organization to get the word out on what happened to them. They are not liars. It's kind of funny how, like one of these, I'm going to go ahead and present one of the, share the screens. And as I do that, let's see. Hello. I'm going to go ahead and do this and share more. And I guess y'all can see that right there. But I'm going to go, man who raped Jehovah Witness girls sentenced to 5 years in prison. It's finally over. This chapter is finally closed. Mariah Hughes, who was 14 when then 25-year-old Elihu Rodriguez sexually abused her. This is for USA News. They get the credit for this article. Mariah Hughes left the Jehovah Witness faith after elders in the church turned away when she approached them with accusations of rape against another fellow congregation member when she was 14 and he was 25. Elizabeth Chuck, Elizabeth Chuck right here, wrote this November 20th, 2019. A man who pleaded guilty to raping two underage girls he met through Jehovah Witness congregation they all belong to have been sentenced to 5 years in prison, a relief to his victims. What's 5 years, y'all? What exactly is 5 years? That's not enough. Elihu Rodriguez, 32, of Yakima, Washington, was given 5 years, the maximum sentence prosecutors had asked for. That's the maximum sentence, y'all. After Rodriguez pleaded guilty to 3 felony counts of child rape, it wasn't just molestation. It actually was child rape in the third degree in September. He was ordered to register as a sex offender. Both of his victims attended the sentences, which took place Friday at the King County Ling Regional Justice Center in Kent, Washington. NBC News does not typically identify survivors of sexual abuse, but one of Rodriguez's victims, Mariah Hughes, chose to share her story last year. She said she had been 5 days away from turning 15 when Rodriguez, then 25, first raped her in October 2012 at her home in Federal Way, Washington. Hughes told NBC News after Rodriguez was sentenced that she felt fantastic knowing he was going to be behind bars. It's finally over. This chapter is finally closed. Or they say it's finally closed, but a pedophile predator is going to continue on the journey of doing what they're doing. I could continue my life knowing that the trauma was worth it. I didn't go through this for nothing. I was justified. We feel like we're justified once they get sentenced, but we don't really get the justification because 2 girls were raped. They weren't just molested, they actually were raped. And there had to be other countless victims. At Rodriguez's sentencing, Hughes described to the court how her life was completely derailed by the abuse. Through tears, she said religious leaders put the blame on her and said my life was hell. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and when I did, I was on edge. The smallest upset would cause me to purge whatever I had consumed into the nearest toilet. Wow. And now she was later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and that something as benign seeming as cologne that smelt like Rodriguez's would cause her to have a debilitating panic attack. That's true. At one point, Hughes said at the sentencing she was so crippled by depression she contemplated ending her life. See, we got to suffer and got the possibility of killing killing ourselves. And that's basically what they want us to do. That's one way that case gets shut up. Our stories don't get told. But we want to fight it and we want to survive. We want to get the word out. We say, like lip lock no more. I love her. Don't keep our mouths sealed anymore. She told the court that she wrote a suicide note last year to her friends and family, apologizing for not being stronger, begging someone to please love my cat Goose. Oh, Hughes had become friendly with Rodriguez at worship meetings associated with the congregation, which is based in Milton, Washington. She said when he started giving her gifts such as new clothing and a cell phone, Hughes, who taught her through her religion that sex is only between a husband and a wife, had no idea she was being groomed for sexual abuse. She says he raped her at least 6 times over the course of several months. Hughes said she felt ashamed and confused by what was happening, and at first she did not tell anyone. But when she moved to Fairfield, Washington, about a year later, she worked up the courage to report it to 3 elders at her congregation there. In both her interview with NBC News and in that victim impact statement that she read in court, Hughes said that there were times when she doubted Rodriguez would ever be disciplined. The elder she reported the rape to basically told me that it was my fault. They told me I wasn't sorry enough to God. They had used the Bible to victim shame me for what I had done, and they never did anything to me. Y'all, I have you to know with the church that I was going to, it was not this type of church, it was a different type of church. The elder told me it was the best to let my husband kill me. It's my only way to heaven. So, excuse me. Sorry. 2 months ago, an attorney for the Jehovah Witness asked the Montana Supreme Court to reverse the $35 million verdict the court did not make in an immediate ruling. Hughes filed charges through the King County Superior Court in Washington in July 2018. The 3 felony charges Rodriguez pleaded guilty to a couple months ago encompassed the abuse against Hughes as well as against a 12 or 13-year-old Jehovah Witness girl he allegedly had a relationship with a long time. Excuse me, a relationship with? You do not have a dang relationship with a 12 or 13-year-old. That's another rape. That is another rape. It's not a relationship, people. Whoo! Press officers for the Jehovah Witness have not commented on Rodriguez's arrest or conviction last year. When Hughes disclosed the allegations of abuse to NBC, the Office of Public Information at the World Headquarters said in an email that it was inappropriate for us to comment on specific cases. Hughes has since left the religion and works in the Spokane, Washington area as an administrative assistant at a private medical company. Thank you so much for what all you did. I appreciate that. I am stopping sharing this at the moment. We get back in here and talk for a little while, and we get back to communicating. Hey there, get to know. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? How are you get to know? Ro? I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that everybody's here. Who is here? Thank you, everyone that's here. I appreciate it. Y'all are going to be shocked at some of these cases, okay? I'm going to give y'all a little bit of rundown on a few cases where but it says they live in a parallel world. It said leaders of the congregation are to be respected and obeyed. Respected and obeyed. How can you respect somebody that victimizes children? Jesus will not even respect them. So, excuse me, you do not need to be respected if you are not a respectable person, if you're not respectful. Today you're golden. Everybody that speaks out for abuse or against abuse, that speaks out about it, is a hero. They are heroes. You are a hero. Warrior Nun, she's a hero coming in here discussing this. Now, y'all got to know before I go ahead. Let's see. I'm going to go to some of the cases, all right? Would y'all like to see some of the cases? I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. They would wish that we would remain silent, but we're not going to be silent. We're going to get the word out. We're not going to give them more than what they deserve. Yeah, Aaron, you popping, bro. Now look at this guy right here. Can y'all see him? This was written in the Philadelphia Inquirer by David Gambo Corda. This was in 2018. It said for Jehovah Witnesses and insular culture and archaic rules have created a recipe for child abuse. He's a staff writer who had written this. It said a little girl. Oh man, it's going back up. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Said okay. Let's go back up here. Said a second was all it took. A second was all it needed. The little girl, round faced and freckled and dressed in her Sunday best, she was fidgeting next to her father inside the Jehovah Witness Kingdom Hall in Red Lion, York County, a safe, familiar space for a family that spent nearly all of its free time preaching and praying. Martin Hall, I guess you see him right here, right? There he is right there. Sometimes my mouse wants to argue with me, y'all. Martin Hall was momentarily preoccupied, doing it out of sight. Excuse me, sorry, y'all. Take a deep breath. Because this is a touchy subject, sorry. Martin Hall, or Huff, however you pronounce that, was momentarily preoccupied doing out assignments to his fellow witnesses for their door-to-door ministry work. When he looked down for his daughter, she was gone. Ho plunged into the slow-motion panic of every person's worst nightmare. He scrambled through the one-story brick building, calling her name, the anxiety piling up like concrete blocks on his chest with each passing moment. She wasn't in the bathrooms. She wasn't in the lobby. He tried a coat room next and found her there, but she wasn't alone. Huff's daughter was perched on the lap of a teenage boy who had quietly lured her away. He was molesting her. He wanted to give me a special hug, the girl told her father. The English language can adequately give shape to the horror of such a discovery to a parent seeing his child's innocence being corrupted and shattered. But what came next was just as hard to describe. When Huff and his wife, Jennifer, told the elders who oversaw the congregation about this October 2005 incident, they were greeted with muted concern. Then came the threats. We were told on more than one occasion that if we told other parents about this, we would be disciplined. Ho 41 said during a recent interview. We never heard the words, go to the cops. Are you considering therapy for her? His wife added, then people stopped talking to us. The hosts were deeply enmeshed in the world of the witnesses. Martin was fifth generation, but this was their first brush with a wall of silence that the religion's leaders have relied on to prevent allegations of child sex abuse from reaching law enforcement. Internal documents show that witnesses' leaderships The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York has long enforced a policy of secrecy in any potential legal matters. The need for elders to maintain strict confidentiality has been repeatedly stressed, reads one passage from a 1989 memo that instructed elders to resist cooperating if police ever showed up at their kingdom halls with a search warrant. Another memo from 1997 focused entirely on the topic of child molesters. Elders, the equivalent of priests, were told to inform one another if known pedophiles moved from one kingdom hall to another and to withhold the information from the congregations. But thanks to a growing number of court cases, criminal prosecutions, and whistleblowers, light has been shed on some of the monsters who lurk in the shadows. Thank God. In the U.S., lawsuits have been filed on behalf of abuse victims from Philadelphia to California, where a superior court judge last year fined the Watchtower more than $2 million for refusing to turn over secretly compiled list of known child molesters. A $66 million class action lawsuit is looming in Canada, and more than 1,000 abusers have been identified by a royal commission in Australia. Watchtower officials declined to participate in an interview, opting instead to send a statement that read in part, Jehovah Witnesses abhor child abuse, a crime that sadly occurs in all sectors of society. The safety of our children is of the utmost importance. If that's true, then you stupid people, get your lives right and turn it over and protect the children. Don't go and do the opposite, and don't go and tell these people and threaten them not to go to the police. Anytime anybody stands up, you want to eradicate them and get rid of them and shut them up. Excuse me, you're the ones who are the problem, not the other people. You're just as much an abuser as the abuser itself if you go like that and you stick along with it. But the child abuse claims are just one piece of the complicated puzzle that lies at the heart of the inner workings of the Witnesses, an often misunderstood religion that grew from humble beginnings in Pittsburgh to become an organization with 8 million followers around the world. More than a dozen congregations in Philadelphia with a real estate empire in New York that during the last few years have been partly sold for more than $1 billion to the development company formerly run by Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law. I spoke to 14 former witnesses ranging in age from 19 to 77 about the experiences that drove them to leave the faith, a process that's called waking up. Some are sexual abuse survivors, while others are firsthand how top leaders buried evidence of disturbing crimes. Some cracked under the weight of dogma that deliberately cuts followers off from the rest of society with the promise of being saved when the world comes to the end. And Jennifer Host says, my in-laws had a wake for us like we were dead. All because they stood up against the child being molested. Oh, wow. Say good riddance to them. How about having a wake for the in-laws? How about that? How about saying good riddance? You don't support and try to protect children? You just stay out of my life anyway. You're too toxic to be around my child. She's never going to have access to y'all ever again. There's a heavy price to pay for speaking out. Witnesses are taught to sever ties with anyone who strays from the teaching that have been handed down by the governing. You understand that? Governing body? Governing. An emotional punishment known as shunning. The hosts know it well. They finally left the religion for good in 2016. And Jennifer Hull said, my in-laws held a wake for us like they were dead. In an uncertain world, people yearn for reassurance, which we do. And then we'll go on further down, so we ain't got to read the full study of that. But then it talks about when there was a splitting in it in 1931, Rutherford doubled down on promising that the end was close to hand, a tactic that gave the religion's leaders even greater sway over those who took the warnings at heart. Fear, after all, is a powerful tool. Yep, it is a powerful tool. And a kid is so easily to be scared. Barbara Anderson was a teenager living in Long Island in '54 when she began studying with a witness she met at a friend's home. I was a very curious kid, and I wanted answers for why I was here. Anderson, who was now 77 at this time, said from her home in Tennessee. She answered all of my questions. That peace of mind, being able to trust that there's see scroll up. I'm so sorry, y'all. That peace of mind, being able to trust that there's a special plan for them in the grand scheme of all unpredictable universe, helps many witnesses to endure a challenging lifestyle. Children aren't allowed to play organized sports or form relationships with kids outside the religion, and adults are expected to spend a minimum of 10 hours a month on field ministry. Attending college is largely discouraged, especially for women. That's where they can keep control on you to make sure you do not learn the truth, where they can keep you in the handheld and not give you the knowledge that is needed on really keeping your kids safe and this type of things happening. They want to keep you kind of like in a prison. Still, the religion had boasted plenty of celebrities among its rank. Prince shocked some Minnesota residents by knocking on their doors after he converted in the early 2000s. Tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, the actor Donald Glover, and musician Patti Smith were all raised witnesses. Michael Jackson left the religion in the late 1980s. Way to go, Michael Jackson, way to go. A few years after he faced blowback from elders who were unhappy with the ghouls that he featured in the video for Thriller. More than 120,000 witnesses called Pennsylvania home, according to a Pew study that was released in 2014. See, they're also portrayed in the media as quirky characters whose wholesomeness seems left over from another era. More than a dozen stories have been written by news outlets across the country since 2010 about members who scrub arenas by hand, including Temple University's Chorus Centers, prior to annual conventions. Overall, they're nice, sincere people. I don't call that sincere, y'all. I don't care what they say. Nice, sincere people. Sincere people would speak out against abuse. They would not deny it's happening. They would not victimize people. They're protect and like this Anderson said, by their policies they were inadvertently protecting pedophiles. And this right here is John Reeder, once served as an elder at a Kingdom Hall in Bradley Beach, New Jersey. He was dismayed by the way its leaders responded to abuse allegations involving a man and an adolescent girl. Thank you so much, John Reeder, for speaking out. He saw that policies in action as an elder at the Bradley Beach Kingdom Hall at Jersey Shore. Reeder said he had participated in conversation with other elders in the early 2000s when they received word that a 20-something man had fondled the breasts of a friend's 12-year-old daughter. Said, you have to make it right with the father, Reeder had told God during a recent interview. We were following the legal department's directions. I don't think we ever spoke to the father. There was a complication. Clergy are among those in New Jersey who are required by law to report suspected child abuse. Reeder said the legal department offered advice on how to alert authorities discreetly. By the way, the ones that came to the house the other day, they said, we have it in the watchtower. If you would just look at our magazine, it tells we tell them how to protect the children from child sexual abuse, how to protect their children and stuff. And I said, well, how do you really protect them when you're letting the pedophiles into the congregation? When their pedophiles might actually be their parents or something. Excuse me? There's the word that they use right here, disfellowship. And the same as excommunicated essentially. For running afoul of their rules, Reeder was forced to cut off all contact with her. The experience, he said, left her deeply traumatized. Barbara Anderson, meanwhile, decided to go public with her knowledge about the witnesses' untold abuse stories and appeared on an episode of NBC show Dateline in 2002. She and her husband were condemned by the witnesses, leaders, and disfellowshipped. I'd had enough, she said. I thought, what kind of people are you? How can you be in God's organization? Exactly. That is not God's organization. See, and you see Sarah Brooks appeared in FaceTime window. Look at her sadness. Look how it destroys our lives. Look at the emotions on her face. She breaks down as she described the sexual abuse she suffered as a teen in York at the hands of two Jehovah Witnesses. It was a rainy February evening, and a 30-year-old was sitting in a driveway in York trying to explain to me all the ways she'd been violated when she was younger. The trouble started in 2002 when she was 14. Two adult witnesses who were close to her, Joshua Caldwell, a family friend, and Jennifer McAvey, her then sister-in-law, started secretly providing Brooks with wine coolers and Yeaglin. How do you say that? Yeaglin? That's a German word, I guess. A year later, the duo allegedly graduated something more sinister. See, right here, they're contributing to the delinquency of minors. Right there. They're right there already doing against God. They're giving this kid strong drink. That's against any religion. Brooks worked with Caldwell, cleared out abandoned houses before they were winterized. McVeigh tagged along as a chaperone of sorts. It was during working hours and in abandoned, nasty homes that he would abuse me, Brooks said, matter of factly. For 2 years, Brooks said Caldwell and McVeigh, who were then in their 20s, allegedly took turns sexually assaulting her. I did not understand what was going on at the time. Eventually, she worked up the nerve to tell her father. He called the elders from our congregation, who were relatives of my abuser. They came over and questioned me. She said, I was told to go to my room. Things got worse from there. Brooks said the elders singled her out of the local Kingdom Hall, announcing to a congregation that she'd been reproved. She'd been reproved, yet how come the other ones, they could keep coming back and keep victimizing and stuff, but the victims itself are not the one that's standing up? As the Bible says, about tying it's better to tie let me get to that, on the StreamYard right quick. Oh, yeah, you're right, You're completely, yeah, a lot is connected to trafficking and more. Thank you for being here, William Pennington, also. And, I want to show this Bible verse again, if it wants to agree with me or not. It is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he cast into the sea than he should offend one of these little ones. This is the kind of things we're talking about. These people are doing, and they claim they go by the Bible, they go by the Word. Well, excuse me, that is a bald-faced lie. And whoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were cast into the sea. So, excuse me, if you think you're better than that, if you think your word of law is a lot, oh man, you got your own man's law. That is man's law. That is not God's law, what you all are doing over there at Jehovah Witnesses. Oh man. I'll take a little break right quick, and I'll ask anybody if they got any questions on what I read so far or any comments. That's right. They were an apostasy. Get that right. I'm glad you're doing okay. Thank you for being here. And I'm so glad that a lot of people are speaking out. William used to be, he used to work in the police force. So he saw a lot of things that went on. He's got a lot of stories he could tell. Thank you so much. Okay. And let's see. Trying to see about this, whether that should be read. Okay, I am going to tell y'all a little more about the database. Are y'all ready for the database? Put your hand up if you're ready for me to expose what it is about the database. Put a number one up there, please. Ready for me to show you about the what's going on with that? Guess I go ahead and get that banner off of there. So get that from showing at the moment. Okay, one, you ready for it? You ready for it? Okay. So I want to prove to y'all what I was saying about the database that these people have. Okay? This is what does a secret database kept by Jehovah Witnesses reveal about potential sex abusers? See right here, and this is written by Oxygen staff. The organization allegedly directed elders and all of its United States congregations to send detailed reports on members facing an allegation of sexually abusing a child to its headquarters, y'all. Not to report it to the police. Since the late 1990s, blue envelopes for Jehovah Witnesses congregations across the country have been sent to the organization's headquarters. But it's the information inside those envelopes that contain damaging secrets. The blue envelopes, I'm going to roll them like this. I'm getting tongue tied because I get so worked up. I need to take a deep breath again. The blue envelopes contain detailed reports of members within the religion accused of child molestation. Officials scan those documents into a database of files for each congregation according to a sworn deposition by an official with the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. So, a lot of times y'all could go into a thing at a store or whatever, and there's a little Watchtower magazine or something like that. I would not read it or nothing like that because this is affiliated with them, all right? This is completely affiliated with these people. But the specific details within that database have largely remained a secret, despite court orders and calls from. See, y'all understand? You see the secret word right here? They have been court ordered to release the contents, leading some to accuse the organization of concealing suspected child abusers. The child abuse files were collected at the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the organization that oversees the Jehovah Witnesses. Sent out a request in March 1997 to all of its United States congregations, requesting that each congregation write a detailed report about anyone within the religion who had been accused of child molestation and sent it to headquarters in the special blue envelope, according to the Atlantic, which I had it open earlier. Y'all can look up the Atlantic and look up the Jehovah Witnesses about this database. Watchtower has maintained the database, which includes the names, congregation locations, and details of the allegations against those suspected of abusing children for more than 2 decades. Then there's his San Diego attorney, Erwin Zalkin, first sought the database during the lawsuit he filed in 2012 on behalf of Jose Lopez, according to the Atlantic. Lopez said he was just 7 years old when he was molested by Gonzalo Campos, an adult mentor recommended by his congregation's elders. The elders suggested Campos as a mentor, even though they allegedly knew, or they already knew, See right here? Campos had a history of molesting boys. Lopez told his mother of the abuse and she reported it to local elders. Campos eventually admitted in a disposition to molesting Lopez and others, according to the Atlantic. Lopez decided to file a lawsuit against Watchtower and requested officials to turn over any documents related to Campos or other known abusers. See, they knew about it and they just had it in their file system and they did not want to do anything about it. They did not want to prosecute this guy for messing with Lopez. So wrong. And it's about that they stand against child abuse? I don't think so. According to all this, we got a lot of facts and statements that show otherwise. You are part of the problem of pedophilia, of sex trafficking. You are disgusting, disgusting people. You want to go and say that you're a witness of Jehovah? Well, guess what? You're the ones defiling God. You're the ones defiling Jehovah. You are the culprits. How dare you? How dare you? Falcon also brought up the database in another 2016 case against Campos. Once again, the Watchtower was ordered to hand over the documents. See that? It's another case where they were ordered to hand over the documents, but this time the organization was ordered to pay a fine of $4,000 for each day they failed to comply with the demand. Watchtower accrued fines of $2 million before the case was later settled. After settlement, the Watchtower apparently did not have to pay these fines. They do everything to protect the reputation of the organization over the safety of the children. Zakin, who represented numerous victims of sexual abuse by Jehovah Witnesses, told Reveal in 2016. The organization's refusal to hand over the documents seemed to align with other policies that had been in place by the organization for more than 3 decades that seemingly encouraged leaders or elders within the congregations not, you see this right here, not to report the abuse to law enforcement officials. Not to report it. And then there's one 1989 memo obtained by Reveal to all elders within the United States stressed the importance of secrecy in these type of matters. See, they want to keep us quiet. They do not want us to get the word out. They want us to remain silent. Oh, heck no. Oh, heck no, I'm not going to go along your things. No. And by talking to y'all, if I was to talk to y'all again and have you in my house right here, I would think that I need to sprinkle some kind of stuff to get it clean in here. Y'all are so defiled. Wow. Often the peace, unity, and spiritual well-being of the congregation are at stake, the letter said, according to Reveal. Oh, the peace, unity, and spiritual well-being of the congregation are at stake. You do the right thing and turn over the pedophiles. And guess what? Your congregation will not be at stake. You do the right thing. It's as simple as that. Don't mess with kids. It is not okay to mess with kids. Oh, poor people, the peace, unity, and spiritual well-being of our congregations at stake. All because we go ahead and let people go ahead and touch children, and we go ahead and banish the people who go and speak out. It's their faults. It does sound like a narcissist to me. A proper use of the tongue by an elder can result in serious legal problems for the individual, is what they're trying to go by right there, y'all. A proper use of the tongue by an elder can result in serious legal problems. Excuse me? If you're speaking out against pedophilia, if you're sticking up for a child, guess what? It will be proper use of the tongue. It will be proper. Get your words and your turns right and do what the heck is right. Another for 97 allegedly instructed elders to inform other elders if a known child sex abuser moved from one congregation to another, but withhold the information from others of the congregation. Can y'all see that? withhold the information that there's a pedophilia right there, and the church is possibly going to go right there and victimize your kid. Keep that away from the congregation. Don't let anybody know. We want to keep pedophilia going, y'all. We want to keep it going. That's the way, they might not say that in that word, but that's what they're doing. If you want to keep it quiet and if you want to go ahead and let the person come back to church who's going like that and messing with kids and then continuing from one congregation to the next and just continuing their sickness. Former elder Roger Bentley confirmed in the Hearst Television National Investigative Unit earlier this year that he had read internal memos from Watchtower that gave elders instructions on how to respond to alleged child abuse. To violate the instruction or call police would have been like going against God's will, he said. That's what they said. To violate the instructions, to go and to report the police, to stand up for a child is going against God's word. Do y'all have a major problem with that or not? By learning of child abuse, even an allegation, and not reporting it, that is covering up child abuse. That's not a tough question, Bentley said, now acknowledging that he had been complicit in an organization he now believes had a bad policy against child abuse. You reckon? In some states, clergy are exempted from mandatory child abuse reporting laws when they learn of the abuse through a confidential spiritual communication, and Watchtower leaders have always maintained that they follow the law. That's BS. You're mandatory reporting if there's any case that's endangering the welfare of anyone else. Anyone. That is a written law. No, you do not have the right to do that. Jehovah Witnesses abhor child abuse as sex crime, as they say, but yeah, right. Our policies on child protection comply with the law, including any requirements for elders to report allegations of child abuse to authorities. Our organization will continue to promote child protection education for parents, they said in a statement to the Hearst Investigative Unit. According to this, when I talked to that couple a couple of days ago that were Jehovah Witness, they said in the Watchtower they put in there how parents are to go by this special thing on how to protect kids. And I said, are you really, when you go and excommunicate basically somebody out of the church, do you go up there and tell them why this person's being excommunication? No, but they find out. That's what I was told. I said, are you sure everybody finds out? No, we're not entirely sure, but maybe most of them do. I said, well, what's going to stop him from abusing? How do you know that this person has changed? Because you said that if he changes, then they'll allow that person back into the church. I said, how do you know for sure he changed? Oh, we have like three guys that'll go and talk to him and they'll question him and they'll see that he's just and all right. I said, well, how do you know that for sure? Because a pedophile can really be like a snake and look you in the eyes and make it look like they're innocent when they're guilty. Oh, but like I told you, don't believe anybody who you read online that says they've been sexually abused by a Jehovah Witnesses. They're lying. They're lying. Don't believe that. Don't believe that there's a database out there. Don't believe what you read, is what they told me. This was the other day, okay, y'all? Zalkin eventually gained access to some of the documents from the database as part of another legal case against the organization, but was ordered by a judge not to speak about the contents of the documents as part of a protective order issued in the case. Do what? He would not be he can read it, but he's not able to speak about the contents of the wow. Zaka says there are a lot of children that are being affected very, very badly. It's hard to know what's in that and not able to talk about, Zuckin said in his contents. A 5-year investigation into the child abuse policies of the Jehovah Witnesses from the Center of Investigative Reporting is the subject of the witnesses. Y'all, This really, really ticks me off. It ticks me on off beyond. Hello, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They go ahead and say, oh, they said this is God's word, that they're blaming the person that's being abused. Well, I'm glad you're here, Merle, and I'm glad you're here, Mechanic. Thanks everybody who are here. This is sad. If you cannot go and you see the files that's in that blue envelope that each Jehovah Witness organization, private, church is to send to the watchtower and privately send it to them about the person and what was done and everything. But by no means, do not call the police, they say. Don't call the police. And if he decides to go to another church, don't tell the new congregation about this pedophile. Don't do it. God is my king and he's everything. You are right, Mechanic Mama. But they're trying to say that we are not to speak about pedophilia or about any of the pedophiles that's in that church or anything. They actually got rid of the kids from the church who actually spoke against and told that they were being abused, sexually abused, molested, raped, and all that. And one guy actually just got 5 years, and he raped, I think it was three different people, three different kids, and all he got was 5 years. Excuse me, is something wrong with this? That's all that the district attorney wanted. So that was enough time. When you rape a child, that is something that you never get over. That is something beyond. I'm so glad that you're here, y'all. I really appreciate y'all. So now, I think we went over talking about the silent, how they did that, right? And so now I want to show you a little bit about the child abuse settlements that they're going on, all right? See, I had a friend who endured this, and she shared this with me and shared some of this information with me. And for this church to tell me that I do not need to believe, I didn't give the person this lady's name because it's her privacy. And they told me, do not believe any friend or anybody who comes to me and tell me that they were sexually abused by the Jehovah Witnesses. That's a thing to do. That's why I'm specifically doing this, because guess what? They told me to shut up. They literally told me to shut up about it the other day, y'all. So I'm taking my courage and getting out there and speaking about this because they, on my doorstep, told me to shut up about it. I will never shut up about this. I will speak up for others. So I'll go like this. Okay, here's a Watchtower child abuse. There's facts about Jehovah Witness, and you can go. There's home scandal, child abuse court cases, and it says jwfacts.com. Let's see how much of this is truth or fiction or something that we can pan out of this. Watchtower is facing and losing a rising number of court cases due to its policies and protection of pedophiles within its congregation. Woohoo! Yeah! Oh, yeah, baby. That's awesome. This article discusses some prominent cases and the reason courts give for judgments against Watchtower. And see, I used to respect the Watchtower thing without really knowing that much about what it's about. And now, you know what? Every time I come upon one, if I got one in my old magazines and my stuff, I rip it to shreds and I throw it away. I can't burn it in my apartment. I get in trouble with that. So, for detail regarding how Jehovah Witnesses are instructed to deal with child abusers, see Watchtower's pedophile policy, which discusses how these policies have facilitated the operation of pedophiles within congregations. All right, I've got to get this person credit. The jwfacts.com /watchtower /child abuse settlements. Okay. The ongoing settlement of cases by Watchtower Society is highly condemned. Most of these are settled out of court with a gag clauses so that the public is unable to attain full details. More recently, some victims have decided to pursue their cases through the courts so that people are able to become aware of what is happening within the Watchtower organization. Y'all are my heroes. You people that are standing up against this atrocity, you are my heroes. You're my new heroes. And understand how dangerous their policies on child abuse has been. The Watchtowers has accepted culpability when settling cases out of court. The settling cases are generally in situations where known child predators continued to be reappointed, y'all, reappointed into positions of authority by the Brooklyn headquarters of Jehovah Witnesses, y'all. The reappointment put them into positions to harm our kids. They're not protecting kids. Elders, the equivalent of priests, are appointed after recommendation by congregation elders, approval of the circuit overseer, and acceptance of the Bethel. Elders are said to be placed in the position of authority by the active guidance of Holy Spirit. As such, they hold considerable influence over our congregation members. Excuse me? Guess what? Holy Spirit? No, you are the demon spirit. You are not the Holy Spirit. Don't defile God's name by saying the Holy Spirit helped put me in that position. No way. You're not even, there's no way you're holy. You need to. Oh, I got about my tongue, y'all. Oh, I got about my tongue. I'm about to say some bad stuff. I'm so sorry. Woo. And see, y'all can even go right here and it says there's a brochure to print. Right here also. In Montana, there was $35 million awarded in 2018. In September 2018, a court found Watchtower guilty of not reporting an extreme case of child abuse, awarded one of the victims $35 million. This was despite the abuser confessing in 2004 and the congregation elders supplying Watchtower headquarters with details of the confession. The PDF of the plaintiff's exhibit is possible to display without violating copyright as it was released to the public record, given a rare opportunity to view a completed form of disfellowshipping, along with the official Watchtower letters about the case. This information is shocking at several levels, as the U.S. state of Montana has mandatory reporting laws. There was no excuse for this not being reported to authorities. Because guess what? They're sex offenders as well. That's no reason. I can guarantee you that. The elders had a confession from Max and written details from his victims. Cuddled with him. During this time, I was unaware that Max was fondling Peter as well, but he would meet even with Peter lying right next to him. Other time, Max would say he needed to run some errands in town and would ask that I go with him. While in the car, we'd go again, fondle me, sometimes pulling over and trying to undo my pants, place my hand on his parts, and force me to perform oral sex. Many times, I would get out of the car and move to the back seat. He would show disgust, swearing in Spanish to me, and then apologize for what he had done. However, he never hesitated for doing it again, though. Wow. The elders wrote to Watchtower Legal Department specifically stating that authorities had not been informed. Bull crap. I'll smush bull crap on your faces because you're full of it. You're walking Oh, man. You cannot even use a paddle to get by in that boat because it's stuck with all the crap. It's surrounded by so much crap you can't even paddle down the river, man. The elders wrote the Watchtower Legal Department specifically stating that authorities had not been informed. The community nor the authorities are aware of this matter. The members of the congregation are also at this time unaware of what took place. That's what they claim. The only ones that were aware of that are now Maximo, his wife, and mother of the children, Joan, Peter, and Holly, an older sister, Ivy. The victims feel disgust towards Maximo. The instructions from the legal department was to fill out the Watchtower forms, but no advice was given to report the crimes, and no report was made. So they want to say that they didn't know. Bull crap on that. I'll just tell you, bull crap. Somebody want to give them a cow patty pie? Pie? They need a cow patty pie, you know? And here is the Christian Congregation Jehovah Witnesses, the body of elders, Thompson Falls Congregation of Jehovah Witnesses in Montana, Kenneth Reach, and we'll disregard that right there because, it's a PBO box, so it's okay. Enclosed, please find the 877 forms you submitted to report the disfellowship of Maximo Navarrete. We express our thanks to the Judicial Committee for handling matters of this sort in behalf of the congregation. Please have the Judicial Committee sign both forms and type or print their names underneath the signatures, then return them to a special blue envelope. See the special blue envelope listed, y'all? In addition, the Judicial Committee should also compose a brief letter that answers each of the following questions. How long ago did he commit the sin? What was his age at the time? What was the age of the victim or victims? Was it a one time occurrence or a practice? If it was a practice, to what extent? How is he viewed in the community and by the authorities? Has he lived down any notoriety in the community? Are members of the congregation aware of what took place? How did they and their victims view him? And it says, thank you for providing this supplemental report and for signing the forms. When returning the forms, please mark the outside of the envelope with the date and the death symbols of this letter. Well, y'all, we need to make sure to keep these questions in line so that we can ask, when we're reviewing a case, we can ask, how long ago did they do this? What was his age at the time? What were the age of the victims? Was it just one time, which we know a lot of times it's probably not. And this was going strictly to the blue envelope, y'all. And then no longer talked about it and said they knew nothing about it. So, but there was the letter to it about it. So they lied, see? Max was to fellowship, but a year later the elders reinstated him, see? He was reinstated, after which the abuse of his stepchildren continued. See that? He continued sexually abusing his stepchildren, y'all. On September 27, 2018, this was reported by press release on numerous news sites globally. Jehovah Witness ordered by jury to pay $35 million to abuse survivors. The following video from Lloyd Evans' YouTube channel spends almost 2 hours discussing the case in depth with a panel of 4 people. So I would advise y'all to go watch this. This is called the Montana Verdict, episode 15, Watchtower. Okay? So I would advise y'all to write this case down and please watch it later so we have more insight on that. The full set of court documents are available from Supreme Court document.mt.gov by searching on case number 18. Let me highlight that. 18-0534. There again, 18-0534. 3-4. So they got other places where there's in July 2015, the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse in Australia looked into the handling of this amongst Jehovah Witnesses. Through several days of interviews with victims, elders, branch members, and former Jehovah Witnesses, it was highlighted how inadequate Watchtower policy had been and continues to be due to putting the reputation of the organization ahead of the protection of the children. The findings, submissions of senior counsel assisting the Royal Commission are scathing of Watchtower policy. The unwillingness to change and the lack of honesty displayed at the hearing. The hearing received global media attention as a professionally conducted, groundbreaking inquiry. Interesting articles include, which y'all can look all that up later, which I told you go to jwfacts.com. Go up there at the top of the screen where that says that. Oh, the whole. And see, there's one that says the Jehovah Witnesses massive child sex abuse scandal. There's Jehovah Witness shield abusers from police. Jehovah Witnesses face child sexual abuse investigation in Australia. Abuse victims face cruel choice inquiry. Royal Commission examines Jehovah Witnesses cover. Abuse redress depends on Jehovah's. Jehovah Witnesses sex abuse response deficient. Royal Commission. Child Sex Abuse Royal Commission hears Jehovah Witness Church did not sanction self-confessed pedophile. Jehovah Witnesses let repentant child sex abusers return to church. Jehovah Witnesses hid child sex abuse cases, which is an Australian inquiry they told about it. The Jehovah Witnesses massive child sex abuse scandal. They said also for a full list of all the exhibits, including scores of internal Watchtower documentation outlining the organizational procedures, see Royal Commission exhibits. This is Drum Paul Grundy, and he's at YouTube as well. There's a Fessler settlement also. He was a teenager in 2002 when first abused by Terry Monheim, who was in her 40s. So that was a lady that did this. The abuse was reported to the elders who did not follow Pennsylvania's mandatory reporting rules, which led to a continuation of the abuse. Fessler requested $1.9 million and was counter-offered by Watchtower $100,000. Fessler did not accept the offer and took the case to court. Subsequently, a settlement with confidentiality clause was reached in February 2017. This is discussed in plaintiff's Second Amendment pretrial memorandum. There's the demand right there, and there's the offer. Okay? The Watchtower branch manual outlines the Bethel branches can make expenditure of up to $2 million without governing body approval, so it's unclear what involved the governing body would have had in the case and authorization of the settlement. So it says news coverage of the case appeared at Penn Live, that's like short for Pennsylvania, pennlive.com/news. Jehovah Witnesses sexual abuse, February 13, 2017. Candace Conti and Jonathan Kendrick, 2012 to 2015. Watchtower lost a landmark case against Candace Conti and her lawyer, Rick Simons. The case was unusual as pedophile Jonathan Kendrick was not an elder, but a rank and a file member of the congregation. Rather than settle out of court, Watchtower had been confident in winning and allowed the case to go through the court processes. Watchtower lost the case on the basis that the elders and Watchtower headquarters had knowledge of a known child molester in the congregation, but did nothing to protect members of the congregation or public. In fact, they allowed Kendrick to preach along with Conti as a 9-year-old. There were two main issues. Okay, the two main issues was there a duty to warn the congregation or Candace Conti's parents that Kendrick had molested a child in the past? I would say so. The lower court said that there was and awarded 21 million punitive damages for breach of this duty. On appeal, the court held that there was no such duty. And then was there a duty to limit and supervise Kendrick's field service? Both courts said that there was, as this was a church-sponsored activity. Candace County won $7 million on this issue. See, y'all, they said it's a church issue, but they're not willing to stand for the child. Excuse me. Excuse me. I am trying my best not to curse, to try not to swear. I am trying hard, y'all. This really angers me. Watchtower initially received a judgment of $28 million, the highest ever awarded against a religion for a single child abuse claim. $7 million damages was split between Kendrick, Watchtower, and the congregation, and a further 21 million punitive damages directed at Watchtower. The 7 million was split in the following proportions. Kendrick's, he had to do 60% for $4,200,000. Watchtower had to do $1,890,000, and the congregation 13%, $910,000. So right here is the questionnaire right there. I hope y'all can see it. Were the elders and the service department's negligence as agents of Watchtower a substantial factor in causing harm to plaintiff and Candace Conti? Yes. You answered yes to questions 2 or any part of question 4, then answer question 5. If you answer no to all parts of question 4, then answer only question 5 and do not answer question 6. What are plaintiff Candace Conti's total damages? Future counseling and therapy, $130,000. Non-economic damages, $6,870,000. Total of A and B, $7 million. What percentage of responsibility for plaintiff Candace Conti's harm do you assign to the following? Insert a percentage only for those who received yes answers to questions 2 and 4. Jonathan Kendrick, 60%. Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York, 27%. North Congregation of Jehovah Witnesses in Fremont, California, 13%. That's a total of 100%. They are 100% liable. You know that? Yes. Do you find any clear and convincing evidence that any of the negligent conduct of Watchtower that was a substantial factor in causing harm to plaintiff Candace Conti was engaged in with malice by managing agent of defendant Watchtower? Yes. Yes. The additional $21 million for punitive damages, which are used as a deterrent against the defendant reoffending, was directed solely at Watchtower. Under appeal, punitive damages were later reduced to $8.6 million. That's sick. And in 2015, subsequently dropped. The reason it was removed was that the judges felt setting the precedent that a religious organization or its adherents about a pedophile in its midst will be overly burdensome upon religious growth in general. Excuse me? You must be part of the pedophilia ring, then, new judges or whatever, you know? The 2015 appeal upheld the guilty verdict that there was a duty to limit and supervise Kendrick's field service, along with $7 million in damages, though Conti is likely to only receive the Watchtower's $2.8 million settlement. There's an excellent summary of the attributes of the case, and you can see it at revealnews.org. There's Candace Conti. Thank her so much for speaking up, y'all. I thank her. She's got several different videos, as you see there. Also, if you go to this website, you see that there's zips of the Conti trial transcripts. 1, Then there's another one, and plaintiff's MPA in opposition to motions for new trial. There's a PDF version right there. And then this was in the United Kingdom in 2015, but it launched a case before the High Court of London. It was successful, and it could lead to a string of cases being launched in the United Kingdom. Jehovah Church faces flood of sex abuse cases. Thank you. Thank you. The Guardian article, Jehovah Witness Under Pressure Over Handling of Sexual Abuse Claims. This by Alice Ross, 2016, August the 12th. Outlines how Watchtower has been found to have failed to protect the child from sexual abuse and attempted to block a charity commission inquiry. A little bit earlier, we spoke of the case of the Gonzalo Campos in 2014. On May 20th, 2010, a lawsuit was filed in San Diego, California by the Zalkin Law Firm. Case number is right here, so I'm not going to read out all that digits, against Watchtower in New York. This regarded 5 people and was settled out of court in 2012, with the Watchtower paying out an undisclosed amount of money. Sorry, I had a notification down here that I'm not wanting to see it. All right. Defendant Campos had an accusation of molestation made against him by a child and his mother in 81, but nothing was done due to the 2-witness rule. There had to be 2 witnesses that were able to see it, y'all. That's what they say. Don't believe the kid. So if he didn't have any witnesses, well, you think they took it to a closet where it'd just be 2 people and there wouldn't be another witness, But guess what? The daddy walked in and was a witness to the child being violated when he opened up that closet, And that's what they were ticked about. They were getting away with it for so long, Despite the accusations of molestation and having been reported, Campos was made a ministerial servant in 1988 and an elder in 1993. Campos was disfellowshipped in 1996. Does that say 6 or 5? I can't see, my eyes. It's getting so blurry, y'all. 1995 and reinstated. Y'all see this is reinstated in 2000? Court documents reveal that over this time frame, Campos molested at least 7 children during that time frame, y'all. They continue to let the sickness continue. They were aiding and abetting these pedophiles. So when you're aiding and abetting, everybody who aids and abets they should go to jail too, in my book. They shouldn't just it shouldn't just be the pedophile that does it. Or the rapist. It should be everyone who aids and abets it. They need to go to jail as well. Rather than settle out of court, victim Jose Lopez took the risk of pursuing the case in court. Lopez had been abused as a 7-year-old by Campos. Congregation elders recommended Campos study with Lopez despite having knowledge that Campos was a pedophile and had molested another boy. In 2014, a San Diego judge awarded Lopez $13.5 million. Watchtower appealed the case, with the Court of Appeals recommended the initial measure should be a remedy that is less onerous than a terminating sanction. Oh, geez. Why they just keep letting them get away with this, man? Why? The case was settled for an undisclosed amount in March 2018, as discussed in the San Diego Union Tribune article. San Diego sex abuse cases against Jehovah Witness Organization settled March 6, 2019. Here's the court documents. If anybody's interested, like I said, you could go to jwfacts.com, Watchtower. Okay, I want to see if I could put this link, copy, and I'll paste this in here. I paste that in there so that y'all could go and y'all could download that information as well. It's got the Irwin Zalkin Watchtower Court documents, round one, two, 2B, all that right there. And then there's out of court settlements that's down here below this. They settled 16 child abuse cases with a total payout estimated to have been $13 million. Oh boy. A number of abuse victims filed court cases. But remember, whenever I started talking about this, one of the first things that I read too was Secrets of Pedophilia in American Religion. Jehovah Witnesses in Crisis by Barbara Anderson contains over 5,000 pages, but I didn't see 5,000 pages, but that would be interesting to have. So that link I just gave you, it's also got on here what I am telling y'all right now. It's got over 5,000 pages of discussion and court transcripts from the out of court settlement of by the Watchtower Society in 2007, detailed information and transcripts of this and additional cases can be found at watchtowerdocuments.com. Warning to elders. The following clip regards 3 elders found to have obstructed police by followed Watchtower policy. It makes an important point that elders are putting themselves at legal risk by following. I want to see if I can get to StreamYard and try to get where the change the video, the settings to the video where y'all will be able to hear. Oh, I don't think I'll be. That's the camera. Sorry. Like real text. So let's get over here to stereo. I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been an awesome, an amazing situation of getting this word out. Yeah, I want to thank everybody who's been here. I'm sorry that I haven't been in here to read what's going on. Y'all couldn't hear none of that audio? Y'all just heard static? Well, I put the link where it's at. I put it on up here a few minutes ago so y'all could go back and go to the bottom of the page and y'all could go listen to it. Does anybody know where that, if the link is still available? Let's see. Paste. Okay. Y'all can go to this link. Okay. And I hope that helps you out there. So I hope that helps out going to there. They had to compensate for sound. I had evidently put something wrong there. I'm so sorry about that. But I was so mad about all this. He made a great speech. If y'all could go back and go to that video and hear him out, what he had said. And his name actually, let me go down to the bottom of the page where the video is. Okay, it's Mark, Marc Cora. Write it down. He's got a YouTube channel. RC Cora. Y'all can go follow him because I think it's at his YouTube channel. Jehovah Witnesses update on the JW Elder, and I just see C ... I can't read the full evaluation of that. So what I do is see if I can, by chance, I'll click on that video where it says watch on YouTube and pause that link, and I'll go and click and share the link, copy the link where y'all will be able to go and y'all can watch it there directly too. So that's a direct link to his video that y'all could go watch, and that's what was going on. He really spoke out well against these three people who were elders in the church that was condoning, who would not protect the children. For sure. If y'all are tired of pedophilia and would like to try to get to know more, this was done in Australia, that guy. So if y'all would please put a 1 there if y'all intend on going to see Marc Cora to hear what was actually said on the video, since it was distorted when I tried to play it. And let him know that we support him through this, with him getting the word out. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And I love y'all. And thank you all for coming. God bless you.